Welcome in to this Tuesday edition Blue Sky Live here with you this morning. Chase Parham and Neal McCready. It was in the Clark Ford studio. We will talk some basketball, talk some baseball today with you, whatever else is floating around the sports world. Ole Miss on the verge of picking up its first transfer portal commit for men's basketball, Pop Isaacs from Creighton. So we'll look at him a little bit and all the other happenings around college athletics today. Ole Miss baseball finishing up a bit of a homestand today. Jackson State, 4 o'clock for that one. Gunnar Dennis on the hill for the Rebels. And then at Kentucky, Thursday, Friday, Saturday weekend series for the number 9 Rebels, who are 6-3 in the SEC after 9 games and 3 weekends. So Blue Sky locations all over the state of Mississippi, up and down I-55 throughout North Mississippi. Hopefully you took advantage of their customer appreciation week down at the Epicenter in Macomb. They had the grand opening in Amory here in the past week or so. So if you need lunch specials, you need catering options, anywhere there's a Sweet Daddies, which is most Blue Skies, they can hook you up. Catering, barbecue, sides, meat and two, whatever you need there with Blue Sky and Sweet Daddies. And again, Neil's in the Clark Ford studio.
I am Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi. 662-257-1900 is the number. Call it. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours, right to the bottom line. No hassle, no haggle. You get your quote. The rest is completely up to you. You can shop that quote around. You can do what I've done, what I recommend that you do, and that's hop into a Clark Ford today, 662-257-1900. Guests join on the Campbell Clinic hotline. From fractures and sports injuries to complex spine and limb conditions, the pediatric orthopedic physicians at Campbell Clinic in Oxford are the only specialized pediatric orthopedic team in North Mississippi providing expert care for growing bodies. Visit CampbellClinicOxford.com to schedule an appointment or call 901-759-3111.
Today is like the day just to completely stay off the internet because of the April Fool's stuff, to the point that if you're really obvious and just being stupid, it's like, okay, I just kind of move on. But like we're jumping the shark now to where we're trying to fool people in news articles, and it's just close enough that I'm not 100% sure. So like even doing prep this morning, there's things where I don't know if they're true or not, and I'm just kind of frustrated right now. You know, like I'm sort of like I don't have the temperament, I don't think, for this day. I think that's where I'm going here with this. And I know if I don't, you definitely don't. So I'm preaching
Yeah,
to the choir.
I don't. I don't. I don't have time. I've got stuff going on today. I don't have a lot of time for total silliness. And the story that you put up on the board, the Cornette girl that goes to Ole Miss.
Mary Kate Cornette spoke to The Athletic in an exclusive interview during an in-person interview somewhere in the Mid-South yesterday, or in the last week, sorry.
Yeah. I know we have other stuff you want to get to.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Number one, good for her for talking. I saw some people say, and I get the argument here. I disagree with it, but I get it. Of, boy, you're just putting it back in the news. You're just rejuvenating it. The fact that girl can't walk the campus at Ole Miss without other kids harassing her. And don't get me wrong, this would happen at any campus. It should tell you everything about social media. Everything. In one sentence. Here's a girl that can't walk on campus. Can't go to classes, can't walk on campus because you know what it is, Chase, is that people think that the stuff you do on social media, that the line between social media and real life has never been more blurred.
Mm-hmm.
Never been more blurred. I'm always struck by young people. I really am, and I'm not being critical. I'm just being honest. Because there's a lot of old people, too, that there are a lot of guys in their 40s and 50s that are desperately trying to be 20-something. Like, dude, it ain't happening. There is no time machine. You're not going back. It's literally never been done. But they live their lives on a phone. They literally live their lives on a phone. They put AirPods on. They're on a phone all day. They're so much more consumed with what people that they'll probably never meet, that they don't know, some of whom aren't even real, think of them that they do things that they would never do, or I don't think they would do in real life, except now the line's so blurred that you feel like you can talk to people in real life the way that you talk to people on social media. I say that all the time. It's not like it's a physical threat, but like some of the stuff that people say to me on social media, they would never say it to my face. They would just never do it. You would never do it because you would fear repercussion.
Well,
and so you would never, but you'll hide behind a username on a platform and say shit to people and to people's families that you would never do in real life. And look, I don't know what's real or not real in that story. And frankly, I said this from day one. It's none of my business. It's none of my business. She's not a public figure. Pat McAfee should be absolutely ashamed. But then I'll be honest, I watch Pat McAfee's show and I don't get it. I watch Barstool stuff. I don't get it. I like the little pizza review thing. That's it. I don't like any of the rest of their crap. And I'm a hypocrite because we had Ben Mintz on all the time. Ben was on because Ben desperately wanted to come on. And after a while, to be completely frank and completely candid, it did nothing for us. I don't like that brand. The whole bro culture thing, it does nothing for me. I don't like it at all. There's a lack of humanity and depth, and like the people that walk around betting, claiming to. If you're walking around claiming to bet on 20 games a day, I don't really believe you. Number two, it's particularly dangerous, and if you're a public figure advocating for that, there are so many young people, especially young males, that are ruining their lives in their late teens, early 20s with gambling apps.
There's a lot here in a lot of ways.
That's that culture. But the fact that that girl can't just go to college is so sad.
No, it's terrible in every way. I mean, it's why I contemplated. I saw it this morning. It was the Athletic led with it actually in their Pulse newsletter this morning, and I put it up because I thought it was a story that deserved to be read. Warn people, hey, we're not doing the crap. And what you're saying, what I read this morning, it strikes me in a lot of ways because you're right. I mean, we get, and look, we're microscopic compared to a real national public figure, but people do recognize us. People think they know us. They send us stuff on email and Twitter, and it's negative sometimes. We catch the crap. But yeah, in-person interactions are almost all positive. You hardly ever get anybody to say anything negative to your face. As you said, you want hiding behind anonymity on message boards and thinking that you can say whatever because it's on the internet has jumped the shark and taken such a dangerous and harmful tone in 2025 that it is scary in so many levels. And I have two different parts here. One thing, you go back and you talk about the Pat McAfee segment with discussing her that day, and that they led with it on the show. I mean, I'm sorry, in the article. Is the adult in the room was Adam Schefter because he was so uncomfortable that he just wanted it to end. He needed it to go away. He was begging them to stop with body language, with words, with everything. And for over 2 minutes, they would not stop. He just was there to talk about Jackson Dart and move on. And then two, and thank God our legal system, and again, sadly, I do not believe she has a case against Pat McAfee legally. However, if you feel the need to emphasize an accent allegedly and make a joke of the word allegedly while you talk crap about someone, you are guilty as possible at that point. That is literally a big flashing red light that you're an asshole.
And not just someone. That's like, I don't really mind when people come after me because, I mean, like I've said this before. I guess, and when I say this, I don't mean like I'm a big shot. I don't mean like that. But I'm a public figure. I do a public podcast. No one puts a gun to their head and makes me do it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I mean, we're not I don't know whether they're technically public figures or not, but we put ourselves at least in a very limited scope in the public eye. I'm shocked to this day that, and it wasn't just McAfee. It wasn't just McAfee. There was a lot of people that the Crane guy, I don't know him. I don't really like his show. I think it's just completely disingenuous. There's some other people that did it. I'm making friends today. You can tell. It's what I do
Dale
best.
Carnegie would in the stream would have a hard time with us today. Yeah, go ahead. How to
It's
win
what I do
friends
best.
and influence people. Neal McCready.
But at no point did someone have the most basic thought that I had day one, the minute I heard about it, was, you know what? I bet that's not true. It's the first thing I thought was, I bet that's not true. And the second thing I thought was, that is somebody's 18-year-old daughter. That is somebody's 18-year-old daughter. And the fact that you can't, as a public figure at ESPN, Pat McAfee wearing all your clown suits and shit on game day and all that stuff, you can't at least think, hey, this is somebody's kid. This is a human being with feelings and a family. And I don't know that this is true. See, that's the thing. You don't know if as in that moment, he had no idea whether that was true or not. Just someone started a rumor. On that day, I remember telling you, I was like, I have no idea if that's true or not. None of my business. I hope it's not true. What a terrible thing. And to this day, nobody's backed off on that day. And this is the part where McAfee and them have no credibility in my world. In a world where that was true, she was the victim of a predator.
That's the thing.
Let me be clear. I doubt very seriously if it's true, and will repeat that it's none of my damn business. Has no impact on me whatsoever. But in a world where that story was true, instead of, because they were doing the deal of, hey, man, way to go, man. Way to go, big guy. Are you serious? In a world where that was true, a grown man slept with his son's 18-year-old girlfriend. That makes him nothing but a predator. Period. The end. A monster. But that's part of the bro culture thing. So I always say it's really dangerous. And you have these young 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old males who are still developing emotionally, who watch that stuff and begin to think that it's real. When in reality, man, nobody treats women like that and has them lined up outside the door.
I mean, it's why societally, I think pornography is one of the worst things in our culture.
Of course it is. Of course it is, because it's not real. But the way it's portrayed is almost in some real thing. It's not. But
the other part of it.
But McAfee and all of those people had a bigger responsibility that day. I mean, at least, like, you know, you go to Pornhub, you sort of know what you're going to get, right? I mean, you know, you don't walk into there going, hey, what's
oh, wow, shocked, blown away. Yeah.
But that's not it's not what that ESPN's not supposed to be that. I'm stunned that there wasn't more backlash professionally than there was, but there wasn't. There's just more, and there's more and more of those people that do it. There's more and more people in our realm who literally their only platform is X, and yet they desperately want to be, I don't know what the word is. I honestly, I don't know what it is.
That's an interesting take right there. Joey, my hot take, Wolf of Wall Street influenced my generation in all the negative ways. Can't tell you how many guys my age, it's their favorite movie for all the wrong reasons. Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no idea, but interesting.
Yeah, I didn't. It tells you something about me. I didn't like that movie. I watched it. I found it to be
Yeah, you internalize movies a lot. I mean, I don't mean that negatively. Like you do. You kind of take on their tone Um, and yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good movie. I enjoyed it, but I never thought, oh, well, let's use this as a routine or a way to act moving forward for society. And I guess my one other take here, and it's the most startling take, is in a world where we are in such an instant gratification society and a move on society, and the news cycle is so short. I guess it shouldn't because nothing negative should shock me anymore. But the fact that campus life has maintained to this stretch for her was sad and pathetic and difficult to comprehend because I guess it's my own fault. I just assumed that people have such short attention spans that it had moved on for the most part, and she was not necessarily recognizable in that way.
Well,
That was my assumption.
I heard the other day when Ole Miss was getting ready to play in the Sweet 16 against Michigan State that there were a lot of memes and whatnot. And I just kept thinking, really? Again, I come back to and maybe it's because I have two, I guess they're not teenagers anymore. Campbell's about to turn 24 and Caroline literally just turned 22 2 weeks ago. But them being teenagers is still fairly fresh. And most people have been around teenage girls at some point. It's kind of a tender age. I mean, there's a lot going on, a lot of societal pressures. It's never been harder to be a kid. And just pile on, man. Social media, just pile on because you're anonymous. And it's cool.
And even some who aren't. I mean, there's local Twitter hacks around here that did it. I mean, it's
sure. Well, you got to get your clout, man. You got to get that social media clout because that's real. Likes and retweets and people participating in it and just piling on. That's our culture. And it's become normalized. And I really do wonder how a lot of those people are going to perform in the real world. Because at some point, I guess, you'll have to get into the real world. But again, that's that whole point. And it's not the macho, you get your ass kicked thing. But you wouldn't talk like that to real people, to people's faces. You just wouldn't. Because you'd A, have no friends, and B, someone might take offense.
Well, and I mean, Jay Roberts makes a good point. People are now making real money off X impressions, which compounds the problem because the way they're making the money is to be as crazy and as ridiculous and as potentially inflammatory as possible because that creates engagement, more views, more likes, more follows, and then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy at that point. Monetizing the amount of money you get off X for your interactions has absolutely made the social media place a worse place to be.
But your common person's not. I mean, like, I don't make any. I've never made a nickel off Twitter. You have to have a lot of engagement to make money off Twitter. A lot.
To even qualify, you need 5 million impressions over 90 days.
And so the number of people that actually have that is really small. I mean, I get what they're saying, and I agree. But I don't think most of the people are motivated by money. Frankly, if people were more motivated by money, they'd spend less time on social media and more time trying to figure out ways to make money. No, they're absolutely addicted to the likes and the retweets and the clout that they get, even though in the real world, none of that stuff has no value at all. I mean, I literally had someone ask me the other day, why didn't you tweet anything from the Sweet 16 game? And I said, because I don't make any money off Twitter. I didn't tweet one time. I watch people in our field who work for sites that are behind a paywall live tweet the whole game. I watch it every day. I never understand it. Why are you doing that? You literally work for a site that's behind a paywall. Everything should be a link to your site. It's because, frankly, they don't realize it, and they're good people, but they want the clout, the attention that you get on social media.
Word can spread, false word can spread instantaneous. instantly and is believed in some ways naively, in some ways intentionally. Both are true.
But you read the quotes from that girl in the story in The Athletic. Those are devastating to read.
They were. No, it was tough. I mean, like I said, it was hard this morning.
I mean, she comes across justifiably as kind of hopeless, defeated. When you're that age, your world's pretty small, man. I mean, most teenagers are pretty self-consumed. Not all, but most. Kind of natural. You get a little older and you realize, we're all just grains of sand, man. It ain't that big of a deal, But at that age, you're pretty self-consumed. You think something's the end of the world. I mean, it's what I remember saying it that next day. I mean, when someone harms themselves in this story, people are going to feel really bad. I feel terrible for the young man involved in it. Again, I don't know what's true or not.
That's what I wonder about some of the people. I go, do you feel bad? Do you hate you did it?
No, they don't care. It's funny. Ha ha. Look at all the likes I got. Look at all the memes that I got, people rolling on the floor laughing. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. That's the juice in it.
Yeah. It's up at the site. It's up at The Athletic, theathletic.com.
I mean,
you need to read her words. It's out there. It's worth reading.
I just hope for her sake that at some point this passes and she can, whether it's at Ole Miss or some other school or wherever, I hope that she can go have a normal existence. I mean, I do. I get where she's saying. I mean,
and that it doesn't impact her career one day and whatever that career is.
I mean, surely not. Right? Surely someone in a hiring position would look at that and say, okay, well, this has been completely disputed. No one has produced anything resembling proof that this happened. And in a world, again, and this is the important part, and this didn't even get written in this story, in a world where it's true she's a victim. For the record,
No.
I would bet a lot of money that it is not true.
Yeah.
But in a world where it was, she's not. Because if you believe the story, you believe that he got her drunk or drugged and took advantage of her. Well, there's a word for that. Starts with R. It's 4 letters, ends with an A. It ends with an E and includes an A and a P.
Mm-hmm. Okay. There. Give it a read. Yep. Just sucks. And always it sucks.
You trying to think of a segue?
Well, no, I'm not. I was going to answer a couple of the things in the stream, and then I realized I'd just leave it alone unless you wanted to take them on. So it's fine.
I've got a world of things to do today.
A world of things.
I do. I've got stories to write. I've got a practice to go cover in an hour and 20 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever that is. Got so things going. Got things going on with 2 kids. Now I got stuff. I'm like Crash.
We're the Bull Durham pitching change scene right now. Got things going on.
We're dealing with a lot of shit right now, Coach.
Hooters filed for bankruptcy today. Did you see that? I don't think that's actually.
Was that right?
Yeah, apparently.
They had a hell of a run.
I don't know the last time I've been in one.
Ooh, I think I can tell you.
You got an answer on this?
Yeah, the last time. Yeah.
Okay.
I was covering the Fiesta Bowl, Nebraska and Tennessee, and Laura went with me. We had to go super early because this was the turn of the century thing, and the world was going to come to an end. And we had to fly out to Phoenix. I want to say it was December the 27th. And when we landed in Phoenix, it was super late. We had a flight that went, I'll never forget this. It was the only flight that we could get, and the paper booked it. It was Mobile to Baton Rouge to Dallas to Phoenix.
That's a route.
That was the route.
Okay.
We had to like pick up people in Baton Rouge. We didn't get off the plane. We just picked people up and then took off to Dallas and then to Phoenix. And by the time we got to Phoenix, it was super late, and we got to our hotel and we were both starving. And the only thing open that was around us was a Hooters right across the street, and we went. We were both famished, and there was a Hooters. And I think that's the last time I've been in a Hooters. So late December 1999.
I was in a Twin Peaks about 10 years ago, which is like the knockoff version or the competitor or whatever the hell we're calling it. But yeah, I can't tell you that I'm aware of it. Yeah, I mean, Big Ben's right. B-dubs, cultural changes, kill Hooters. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, John Daly keeps it alive in Augusta that 1 week a year, but that's about it. They joined BurgerFi and Red Lobster as recent chains who have filed for bankruptcy amid.
Red Lobster finally bid it, huh?
The restaurants are still open. At least the one in Tupelo is. But yeah, you can still get the Cheddar Bay biscuits and the fresh seafood. But I don't think they have
had a hell of a run.
Had a run. No, hey, back in high school, boy, that was one of our go-tos. You went to when there was the tiers. Okay, you had the date and you were in Amory, so you had to get to Tupelo for the good date, the good restaurants. And you had like the hierarchy. If you didn't really care, you'd go to Applebee's. Then you had like Logan's and Red Lobster. And then like if it was like, oh no, this one matters, it's Outback or Olive Garden. It's like, no. Now we're getting all the way up on the Outback of the Olive Garden now. So
you took a girl to Olive Garden and she knew he's serious.
Oh no, that was real. That was like, oh, he's dropping bones. Like, yeah, that's what we're doing here. Yeah.
I mean, I kind of get Outback, because I mean, look, I mean, if you tell me, hey Neil, the only thing open is Outback, I'm like, I can make that work every time. I'm good.
Yeah.
You tell me, hey,
we're going to Applebee's, and she goes, I don't know, this ain't going much of anywhere. Just getting riblets. It's tough. So,
where are we going? What are we doing?
Well, okay. Here's the funny part: is I actually wanted to talk about our first topic. Glad you did that. I had it. I was saving it to the end. It's written on my little notebook over here. I was going to lead with what common sense told you was a likely move here, which is Pop Isaacs, as early as today, is going to commit to Ole Miss out of the transfer portal if he's not already. Yeah, I mean, Walker Jones even quote tweeting yesterday, putting a check mark above Joe Tipton's tweet about him. So I feel very confident here that meant a deal was in place. Pop Isaacs is a guard out of Creighton. He originally committed to Texas Tech. So most of his recruitment was done by Chris Beard at Texas Tech. Now, Grant McCaslin had already been hired prior to him committing, but the majority of that recruitment process was done by Beard and his staff prior to Beard leaving for Texas. He was all Big 12 at Texas Tech. He's averaged double figures 3 years in a row. One at Creighton over a very short period of time, and then two at Texas Tech at that point. For Creighton, he only played in 8 games last year. He averaged 16.3 points per game. His last game of the season came on December the 4th, and it was his best game of the season in a Creighton 76-63 win over Kansas. He played 39 minutes. He went 10 of 15 from the field, 6 of 9 from 3, and scored 27 points in that win over the Jayhawks. Your own question here, look, I mean, he's a bucket. He's a guy that's gonna replace somebody. He's got some link to him. He would be valuable in every way, or will be valuable in every way, as long as he's healthy. My one concern here with him is that he had a previous hip surgery already. and then he sat out the season opener against whoever they played. I think it was Rio Grande Valley, I believe, was who the opener was for Creighton, and then played in these 8 games. Again, played well. He had 25 points against Texas A&M. He had 25 points against Nebraska. He had 18 points against San Diego State. I mean, he fills it up. But then he has this hip surgery, and when you've had 2 hip procedures, I just wonder a little bit. Like, and I don't know. I have no idea. He might be 100% in a freaking NBA lottery pick in a year, but I guess the point is his stats, his measurables, his size, his experience, A plus. You're getting a hell of a player out of the portal. His ability and durability are the only things that I'm kind of wondering about as we move forward.
Yeah, all that's more than fair. I had someone sort of make a Logan Diggs comparison yesterday, and I was like, huh, yeah, I guess I kind of see that.
Well, I mean, Ole Miss can't handle that though. He's got to play
no,
now.
They need him to play, and I don't know. I don't really know what his. I hate to speculate on his health because I've heard so many different things, and I don't know. I'm assuming, because this would make sense, that Chris Beard and company have done the deep dig into what his health is. Mm-hmm. There's obviously a long relationship there. He's obviously, when healthy, is a very good player. I've heard price tags on him. No, I'm not repeating them here because I can't validate them. I mean, the price is high right now in college basketball. I mean, I think it was Goodman today put out something about some college players he thinks in the portal are going to get 2.5 for a season. Think about that. I mean, do the mental gymnastics on that.
Is that like the dude from UAB? Is he like one of the top 5 kids in the portal?
Yeah, I think Yaxel is one of those guys that's going to get. I mean, I heard yesterday, again, I can't validate this. I don't know it to be true. So let me be perfectly clear that I guess I'm spreading rumors here, but I guess I'm spreading rumors saying up front, I don't know if it's true or not.
Yep.
That fair?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
It's out there that there were 2 SEC programs and probably more who had made him $2 million plus offers. Again, I cannot verify that. I don't know that to be true. I kind of think it's probably in the realm of truth. Now, what I heard on Isaacs is nowhere close to that. But what's going to be interesting with Ole Miss is they've got as many as 11 spots to fill. And they can't pay everybody what they're paying Pop Isaacs. So if what I hear is remotely true, which means that they need him to be able, like you said, he needs to contribute. He needs to have ability. He needs to have availability. He needs to play. Otherwise, you've got a big portion of your payroll just sitting on the bench, unavailable. So I'm sure they've done their work there. I'm sure there's some risk. I mean, anytime you have repeated injury, there's a chance of another injury. But they've got to fill other spots. So I don't. I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted by something in a text message. I apologize.
No, you're fine.
They've got to fill a lot of spots. They've got 2 guys coming in today. They're doing Zoom calls. Everybody's doing Zoom calls. I've been a little careful with going crazy with Zoom calls because, like, there are kids that are doing 3-4 Zooms a day. We'll do the math on if you do that for 3 or 4 days, you're Zooming with 12 teams. You're not going to 12 schools. You're not seriously considering 12 schools. So,
I mean, look, I don't know basketball recruiting news unless I luck into it. But I mean, it's what you put it in the thread at rebelgrove.com. You started it with that. The kid from Sam Houston, Lamar Wilkerson, he had an in-person meeting with Ole Miss, so my ears perked up. It wasn't just, hey, we're speed dating. Both sides took the time to meet and actually have a conversation in person with eyes and shit. So that was a different situation there. By the way, he shot 44.5% from three, so another shooter.
No, he's very good. When he's healthy and when he's available, he is a very good player. And he is the type of player that fits Beard's profile. He knows him. He's tough. He's not going to be a culture issue.
Won't be cheap.
No, good players are not cheap. And so what you're going to have to do in the portal, this isn't just Ole Miss, this is a lot of schools. You're where you're going to have to be good, where you're going to have to hit 500 or better is when you go out and you're adding bench guys, role players. You got to hit on some of those. Probably not going to hit on all of them, but you really got to hit on some guys who can come in and give you the 15 to 20 minutes a night, who can do role play stuff. You're going to have to get those kind of guys, because those kind of guys are going to come for $200,000, and you got to hit on some of those.
I don't know who else is in on him, and some people asking in the stream. The tweet that Neal referenced yesterday had a Lamar Wilkerson suitors outside of Ole Miss. It's Auburn, Kansas, and SMU. No idea, but
yeah, and he's done more Zooms with other teams too, so his list could change rapidly.
I do think this is going to be fairly accelerated, right? This feels fast.
So this is something that Tyler talked about on McCready and Siskey a couple of shows ago, and he's right. A lot of these deals are going to try to get done before April 7th, because that's when the house settlement thingy, if you believe it, I don't. Some people do. If you believe that it's going to kick in for any length of time, it kicks in on.
Oh, it's kicking in then, not just simply being confirmed then?
I think that's kind of, but I think the assumption in some of these collectives is that's when it sort of starts, where you've got to do the Deloitte thing.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And I don't. I'm running out of matches. I'm going to be out of matches.
One right now. It's okay. Well, there's only. I mean, Grind has the good point here. There's only so much money. Everybody got a payroll, no matter if that's $2 million or $10 million. So the earlier you jump in and get yours, the more there is to actually get. I mean, if you wait 3 weeks, somebody goes, "Hey, love to have you," but all I got left is $300K, which is a hell of a sentence. But it's the sentence we got anyway.
That's the dance that's happening right now. Is some of the guys in the portal, especially the high-profile guys, they got agents and stuff, and everybody's trying to get the most you can get. And some of these guys, man, some of these schools, they're like, look, we might want this fish, but we've got this fish on the hook right now, and it's a tasty fish, and we're hungry. So I don't know where all of that goes. I mean, and then listen, there's still some high-profile high school guys. The number one player was supposed to announce today, because there's a McDonald's thing. Is it today, this week? And he's put it off because the Boozer twins, who are going to Duke, kind of gotten in his ear. And so what's his price tag? And then, and I talked about this in 10 Thoughts, and it looks like I'm going to be right on this one. Just a new thing for me. Adu Thero, I'm using him as an example. He's not the only one. Arkansas player who is considered probably an early second-round draft choice. It looks like there's real momentum towards him returning to Arkansas. Why? Because he'll literally make more to play one season at Arkansas than he would make in the NBA. It's crazy. That's crazy, but that's where we are. So you take them for a minute, right? Okay, what is he going to make? Because that's going to eat from their budget, and they're in on some high-profile guys. There's going to be a lot of, like, they're one of the teams that's in on Yaxel Lindeborg. And the fact that you see, like, Christian Coleman from UAB and Yaxel leave UAB, and Andy Kennedy on Twitter basically saying, hey, go get yours. It just shows you that.
Good luck.
Yeah. Love you, man. I UAB Blazer for life. But I have not talked to Andy, to be clear, but I would suspect that he saw the writing on the wall and said, hey, go get yours. We can't pay you that.
Yeah.
UAB
You have
can't
an
pay
opportunity here, so go get it.
Yeah,
We'll
go get it.
out.
UAB can't pay a player $2.5 million.
Yeah, they announced the rosters for the McDonald's All-American game yesterday. Your usual cast of characters. The teams that the players are committed to: Cincinnati, Arkansas, UConn, Duke, Notre Dame, Houston, Michigan, Kentucky, UConn, USC, Louisville, Washington, Houston, BYU, Duke, Arizona, Kansas, Arkansas, North Carolina, Baylor. And as you mentioned, the Boozer twins both committed to Duke. They're out of Christopher Columbus.
I think this kid's name is like Acuff or something.
Darius Acuff. He's
is
a
that
guard
right?
from IMG Academy.
He's down to like he was down to 5. He was going to announce today, and he delayed it.
Oh, well, Darius Acuff is committed to Arkansas per the sheet.
Okay, I can't remember the other kid's name.
The only undecided kid on the list is Nate Ament, a forward from Highland High School.
That's him. I knew it was A something.
Okay, yeah, Nate Ament, number 4, a forward from Highland School in Virginia.
Yep, that's him.
Yes, he is the only undecided. Oh, there's another one, Brayton Burries from Illinois Roosevelt High School in California.
And I have no idea what the price tag is for the Acuff kid or Ament kid or whatever his name is. I have no idea. Beats me. I'm sure it's expensive. And that's where you get into the, would you rather have Pop Isaacs, who probably doesn't have the ceiling of the young kid, but
I know next year, if he's healthy, I'm going to get 16 a night.
Yeah, and I don't know whether when I get a freshman, am I going through the typical freshman stuff at first?
Well, Ole Miss has the kid committed again, Tyler, whatever his name, Jordan, that I keep forgetting, yep. And he's not free. He's a top 100 high school commitment, and yet there's no guarantee of anything he's giving you next year or expected to give you next year.
No clue. I mean, he might come in and be a phenom. He might come in and just not be ready.
How many coaches you think send a Zoom link to the kids and they just never show up? You think how long you think they stay on the Zoom? Like, how long you think they stay on the Zoom before they give it up?
Oh, it's where I wish
5 minutes, 10 minutes.
It would frustrate subscribers to no end. It would end up being a great story if you could say, hey, could I embed for 5 days?
Mm-hmm.
Everything I see is completely on the record, but only after 10 days. It's
all over. Yeah.
After everything's done, I get to come back and go, here's how this played out.
I'll sit in the corner. The kid can't see me on the Zoom.
Right.
I'm just hanging out.
But I get to hear everything. I get to tell the people, here's how this worked. It'd be fascinating, right? I mean, no one would trust anybody to do it, and the fallout from it would be off the charts. But
you don't think so? You don't think?
I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine the 5 minutes after I published the story of I was embedded with the Ole Miss basketball staff, and here's what happened?
Yeah.
Whew. Kaboom. But it'd be great. It'd be great journalism. But for 10 days, I wouldn't be able to report anything here, and people would lose their minds.
Look, the money and the portal and the situation, it's why you have 4 1 seeds in the Final Four. On the women's side, you have 3 1 seeds, and then that plucky 2 seed underdog UConn that has advanced to the Final Four. So I mean, it's
those Huskies. Doggone. That Gino Ariema. Boy, what a Jim Valvano story that is, huh?
Yeah, I heard an interview yesterday, and he was like, "Yeah, we're going into this just really trying, they're the underdogs." Like, oh, Gino, shut the hell up.
It's the world.
Yes, the USC 1 seed without their best player and potentially the best player in the country. So it's great.
The pressure
awesome.
John Shire feels as the guy trying to live up to Mike Krzyzewski's legacy, all while, trying to make sure these kids go to class at Duke. What a story.
That probably was a relief for him to finally kind of get some like out of like replacing the guy is very tough.
It
Like,
is, but it's made much easier when you have three
well, yeah,
lottery
you're
picks.
at Duke for God's sake. Well, and I mean, even look at the 2 times we're experiencing this in the last couple of years. Way easier for him than DeBoer because all the rules changed. Alabama was already in a more precarious spot than they were anyway. Like Duke is still Goliath up here. I mean, you're just assuming the throne. I mean, anything but this level would have been shocking for that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, the UConn AD is actually, I mean, that dude, I don't know who he is. He's incredibly sharp. He's the one that took out the insurance policy last year because he saw what was coming to basically save his athletic department because they kept hitting every damn bonus imaginable between Hurley and Gino. But yes, I agree with you. Like his staff meetings, the amount of things that he gets asked for by Dan Hurley and Gino Ariema have to be just through the roof of dealing with somebody day after day after day after day. Like I can't imagine. But seems to manage it pretty well. I kind of like UConn. I find myself pulling for them in most things.
Uh,
I do. I don't know why. Like I said, Dan Hurley cracks me the hell up. Like he's my favorite coach in the country. Like
yeah.
he makes me
Dan,
laugh always.
he does not bother me at all. I mean,
No, he's,
you know,
his
he was
quotes yesterday were just so good. He's like, "I'm not the villain." So I go overboard a couple times a year. Okay, fine, great, whatever. All right,
well. The one I love is when he says UConn knew what it was getting.
not wrong.
Fair enough.
Yeah, UConn's not mad at him. His AD didn't call him and yell at him.
No. No, the sports information director.
Oh, that's different. He ain't Dan Hurley.
Probably needed to dial that one back a minute.
I don't know. Dan called the sports information director a warrior. So
Warrior
he did.
basketball. God.
Knox has got a good point. He doesn't have to worry about the ego of a football program at UConn, so that helps. He can just deal with the basketball people. And then Jim Penders is actually one of the best baseball coaches in the country and has been at UConn forever. He's the guy Richard Cross is obsessed with, thinks that any big program in the country should hire. Dude just wins games in Storage, Connecticut. It's a hell of a baseball coach.
It does help when you don't have to fool with football as a basketball deal. Like,
well, I mean,
dude,
you mentioned the rev share stuff. I'm all in on UConn moving forward.
if you're Duke, do you give any money to football?
Because your ceiling is so low still.
Yeah, because like I think you have to look at this. I'm convinced I'm right here. Maybe I'm wrong, and I've never been an AD. Don't want to be one. And if anybody would ever like to call me in and show me the books and show me where no, this is why you couldn't do this, I'm game. But if you're Duke, I would think I would be in the room that says, all right, realistically, our chances of making the college football playoff in any given year are less than 1%.
They've made it once in the last 50. They would have made it once in the last 15 years. The year they played Manziel in the Cotton Bowl.
Okay, so it's even higher than I thought. Okay, so 6%.
Yeah.
Now, my odds of making the Final Four in college basketball higher than 6%. Pretty good at it. Everybody here loves this. They give for
That's what we do.
The kids come and they camp out and the whole shooting match. Shouldn't we just dedicate ourselves to that?
Yeah, we can't suck at this. Frankly, and by suck, I mean we have to be elite at this, period.
Yeah. The expectation is to be elite.
We are one of the top 4 programs in the country every year.
Shouldn't we just continue to put the money into getting the next Cooper Flag and the next Boozer and all of that? Shouldn't that just be our goal? As opposed to we're doing this football thing that's going to get us nowhere.
Look, I respect even the SEC programs that you mentioned yesterday that kind of go, look, we can't suck. We got to try, but let's go try to win at something. Let's pick a sport. Let's go win at that sport. Let's maximize it.
And again, I'm not in those rooms. I don't look at the books. It's not my job to. I'm just giving a thought. Not even an opinion. It's just kind of a hypothesis. But there's some SEC and Big Ten schools that I'd look at and go, We're not. We're never getting there, guys. But we can do it in basketball. We can do it in basketball. And look, February, March, there's a lot of attention on basketball. If you believe that sports are a driver for morale, for enrollment, for any of those things, if you believe those things, and yeah, and that's I can't sit here because yeah. But if you believe those things, well, does it really matter which one you're good at as long as you're good at one of the two? Because I don't know how many schools can legitimately, and there's some, go, hey, I think we can do this perennially in both sports. There's some. But there are some that clearly can't. And I kind of don't blame them if they start to go, you know what? As long as we're okay in football, just decent, like Music City / Liberty / Birmingham Bowl. If we're making deep tournament runs every year and have elite players in basketball where everybody's excited for from November through March, we should just do that. And again, it's not an opinion, it's a hypothesis. Someone could easily show me where, no, you can't. Here's why. And I'd be like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah, GJG is right. That's what we're talking about. You'd much rather be really good in one than mid at both.
Yeah. Well, because
we have an identity. We have let's go. There's pride points. There's all these things. Mid, and you're like, yeah, okay, fine, whatever. We don't suck.
Mid at both means you're not a competitor in either.
No, it means you're not an NCAA tournament team, or you're like just the conference peps you up and you go 6 and whatever or 7 and whatever in basketball, and in football it means you go 7 and 5. Okay, awesome, cool. I think Arkansas is doing the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, right now they are. I mean, maybe they go hire the next Lane Kiffin in football, and it changes the topic, but they're not. I mean, they're not competing for the CFP this year.
BWL says cost of a Final Four roster versus a playoff team in football. I mean, football is more expensive. I mean, there's only 15 basketball
yeah, I mean,
players.
let's do some real numbers. I mean, most people right now think a college football playoff roster is going to cost you at least $20 million.
Correct.
Most people think a Final Four caliber basketball roster today is at least 8, and it's probably higher than that right now. I'd probably say 10 to 12.
Yeah. Coach dependent, obviously.
Yeah.
But that's also essentially 13 players versus 60 players from an NIL standpoint.
Yeah. College basketball rosters topped out at 15, and all 15 guys aren't getting paid.
Yeah, right. But you're paying good money to 10.
Yeah.
Define good money however you want to define it, but yeah.
Yeah, 8 to 10 players.
I mean, look, the one guy in the entire conference right now, and I mean all 16 teams, that I wouldn't want to be is Zach Selman, the AD at Mississippi State. They just feel like they're screwed.
Yeah. Well, they kind of are, right? Yeah, I don't know. It's funny. I've lived in this state for a long time, and that's probably the one program that I have the least amount of sources and connections with.
I don't know.
I really know nothing about their internal dynamics at all.
I haven't looked for an update on this, so if they have come out and announced that everything's fine or there was a problem or good or bad or whatever, but I saw a couple times in the last day that Brian Haydad and Robbie Falk had postponed their latest podcast because Brian was dealing with some sort of illness in his family. So prayers for you if you're still dealing with that. I have not seen an update at all, but that just struck me yesterday. Both those guys are really good guys. They do a great job with that podcast. So just hope everything is doing well over there. As we mentioned State, and that's what came to my mind. So yeah, State. State's in a weird spot. They just don't have it. I mean, they've spent a year trying to raise the money for rev share. Their athletic budget, Ole Miss is having a money ball with where their athletic budget is compared to a lot of the top end budget teams in the SEC, and their budget's almost 50 million higher than state. I don't know how the maths when you look at it.
Well,
That's the problem.
based on results, it doesn't math.
Correct. Yeah.
But again, I'm not gonna like. I just don't. I don't know. I know. I don't know anything about their internal dynamics at all. So I'll freely admit that. No clue. There's no way for me to have anything resembling an informed opinion about where they are or where they might be able to get. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Shift up for a minute to baseball. Ole Miss, Jackson State tonight. Again, 4 o'clock start time for that, and then this weekend Kentucky Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yeah, Mississippi State baseball is in a world of hurt right now. They got swept against LSU. Lamonis is on the hot seat. He had sort of salvaged it last year. He's probably going to get fired at the end of last year, but I feel like all the tea leaves are pointing toward a change in their program, and I don't know where they'll go. I have no idea. I felt like Lamonis was the guy after the last search, but I don't know what they're doing. Quick stats here, and thank you. I guess was more the word to unconfirmed source. He put this on the board, so I didn't have to do it. So I appreciate that. He was looking at Ole Miss's spots inside the conference through 3 weekends, and it's a continuation of what we were discussing yesterday. Of how do you view this team, positively or negatively? What does 6-3 mean when you look at such a small sample size in every way? Because you played Arkansas, which, if nothing else, they're very, very good, and they're a contender to finish top 2 or 3 in the SEC, whatever they are or not nationally. You played Missouri, who's the worst team in the league, but you played them in a windstorm. They do score some runs occasionally. They just can't pitch for crap. And then Florida, who has all the talent in the world, but they're banged up and they're 1-8 in the SEC, and the results are not there. So weather and schedule is going to affect some of your stats as far as where you're standing inside the league. And again, it's only 3 weeks. It's not enough sample size for anything as far as a complete measure of where things are going on. But the numbers are stark for Ole Miss, offensive to pitching. It's exactly what we thought. They are third in batting average, second in OPS, third in home runs, first in doubles, first in walks, which is good. They do walk. They don't swing a ton of bad pitches, and that's huge because of how fly out dependent they are. Now here's the problem: they also strike out the second most in the league. Missouri is the only team that strikes out more. Ole Miss has struck out 99 times through 9 conference games. Way too many. Way too many.
Wow. 11 strikeouts per game?
I'm telling you, Neil, they are a major league club. It is fly ball, walk, strikeout. Like,
What?
it's.
Whew.
Yeah. You can argue because in runs, they are second in the league. So I guess you can argue that it's like the major leagues and strikeouts don't matter.
Yeah.
However, I just think in college baseball, as I said yesterday, so many errors are made defensively, and defenses are worse. They're worse than 5 years ago. The college baseball sucks defensively. Because of that, just move it. Just move the ball a little bit, and I think you're going to get extra guys.
My center fielder at Vanderbilt, he doesn't suck defensively.
You love him.
I love him. EJ Jr., is that his name? Stud. Dude just chases it down. Okay. Who was the guy that he was? I have you have a thing for Vanderbilt running backs. I have a thing for Vanderbilt center field.
Yeah, because you were all in on Enrique Bradfield too.
Where's he today?
I mean, in the pros, but I don't know. Where
okay.
He's at. Yeah, I lose track of them once they head up.
This kid chases it down, man. He's like a gazelle out there. He's fantastic. Love that kid. He's my guy. My favorite player in the league.
Enrique Bradfield is a Baltimore Oriole.
There you go. Is he on the major league roster?
He appears to be an outfielder for the Baltimore Orioles.
How about that? Look at that. I can spot him.
There you go. Yes, every team goes to the SEC baseball tournament. They are not going to create their own line of delineation between teams that get in and teams that don't get in. Hit by pitch, third. By the way, Kentucky leads that category with 33. They are going to do anything shy of jumping out in front of the baseball because they don't hit. They're going to pitch. They're going to play defense a little bit, but they do not hit. So they're going to do tons of small ball with you this week. It's going to stress Ole Miss's defense. I think Ole Miss is the better team, and you need to get two up there just doing the math. But Kentucky's an odd challenge. That's not some guarantee up there. Unconfirmed points it out, and I think this is worth noting. South Carolina is really bad, but they're hitting 303, fifth highest in the league, and they've played a tough schedule. But they've scored the second fewest runs in the league because they have 12 double plays already through 9 conference games. They just keep stranding runners and having double plays kill innings. And then on the other side of this, Ole Miss is just not pitching. ERA 7.78 team ERA in SEC play through 9 games. They're giving up 8.5 runs per game total. That's 14th in the SEC. But now here's where you get to what you don't know. Is that the only 2 teams worse than Ole Miss in ERA are Missouri and Florida. 2 teams Ole Miss has played. So did Ole Miss impact their ERAs, or did you play really bad pitching? Or both? And the answer is both. But I don't know. So
probably both, but you don't know which is weighted more right now because it's still
yes. And again, you played Missouri with the wind blowing out 40 miles an hour. So I don't know.
If you hit it in the air, it had a shot.
It did. Batting average against Ole Miss 13th. I mean, opponents are hitting 304 against Ole Miss right now.
That's not good.
That's not ideal. Teams are hitting 319 against Missouri and Florida right now.
What does Rippy always say? That's
suboptimal. Suboptimal. Yes. Suboptimal. Ole Miss is leading the SEC in strikeouts for pitching. That's good. That's real good.
Yeah, that's real good.
Out of innings. It's what saved Hunter Elliott, frankly, this year. Walks 26th.
Hunter has worked his way out of a lot of traffic.
It has been his career. That is, he is a crossing guard, but he normally gets out of it. I mean,
he plays in traffic a lot. Like what are you doing?
Just he also has developed. He's also developed maybe the best pickoff in college baseball.
Yeah,
he has a tremendous pickoff. He's picked off like 5-6 runners already this season, something like that. It's really close to a balk because he cheats that 45 pretty good, but it has not been called. And Joel Mangrum got here, and the first thing he told Hunter was that his pickoff was, quote, trash, and then they went to trying to fix it, and it's become elite. Yeah. Hit by pitch 14th, wild pitches 14th, errors 12th. I mean, it's awful on that side. But here's something: if you want to be Pollyanna, I don't know. If you want to be Pollyanna, it's that all the pitchers have said, we've only had like 9 months with our pitching coach. It's just taking time. I mean, Hunter's even admitted like 3 weeks ago he's not comfortable with all the changes. But at the end of the day, you had to start playing games, and you don't want to abandon the changes. I mean, you got to fix it no matter how long it takes. So for some of the players, there's at least the argument that it will improve as the season goes on, potentially. But they got to get the rotation figured out. I mean, it's just not enough right now. You're relying on your bullpen so bad. I mean, Dustin makes a point. The strike zone is terrible, but I tell you what the strike zone is tight. It is so tight.
Well, and it moves.
There's nowhere to miss.
It used to be too big, and now sometimes it's too small, and it moves.
That's what Mike told me last year. He said they are getting graded now in real time. So after the games, they get a printout of how they did. Horribly, I'll go ahead and answer how they did. But they get a printout of how they did. They tighten because they don't want to miss strikes. And he said, but because they're not as good as the major league umpires, they don't give you the high strike the way the major league umpires do. So he goes, we're throwing in a coffee can that kind of shifts because they've shrunk the zone and they've been told to do a major league zone, but they're not giving the high strike like the major leagues. So it's actually in some ways harder to throw strikes than the next level.
Yeah, and the guys that benefit from it are the guys that work consistently down in the zone. They're getting a little bit underneath the zone.
And
from
what
what
I
I
talked
can tell.
about last week was Ole Miss doesn't have a ton of pitchers with great out pitches, with a ton of swing and miss. So while they're leading the league in strikeouts and doing a good job of finishing off guys eventually, guys are fouling off pitches. They're not getting rid of them. It's running pitch counts up. There's just problems sort of inside the game that's hitting them right now. Ole
So
Miss
how
also has not
much?
thrown out a runner from the catcher position in league play yet, 0 for 7. But they
Oh,
also have 0 pass
so
balls.
how much SEC have you been able to? How much non Ole Miss SEC have you been able to watch so far?
Hardly any at home when I'm just sitting around, but I'll typically put a couple other games on my computer while I'm watching Ole Miss sitting there because I'm a little bored. I'm still paying attention. It's why I think. I mean, I've watched a lot of Arkansas. I've watched a good bit of Vandy. I've watched a good bit of LSU. Watched a good bit of Texas. I think those are probably the teams that I've seen the most where I felt like I had some handle on them. I don't have to watch Tennessee. I know what they are.
Georgia?
So I haven't watched them enough because I think they're really good, but I think they have some holes that they've done a good job of to mask to date for them.
Yeah.
It's kind of where I am on that.
It's so weird to look at the standings and to see 4 teams at 8-1, and then to see what is it, 4 teams at 1-8,
It's State,
where
South Carolina, A&M, and Florida.
yeah, they look kind of buried. I mean, those teams, you look at them and you go, boy, it's going to be hard to overcome 1-8. That's a lot. I mean, you can do it, but I mean, if the goal is to get to 14 wins, you've got to go 13-8 the rest of the way. I mean, you got to get going fast.
And I think A&M is almost already eliminated because of their non-league.
I do too.
Because I think they got to get to like 15.
You know, and here's the hard part. I was thinking about this about college baseball. The hard part as compared to college basketball, where you have a pretty decent idea, like in January in college basketball, about other leagues. You might be better about this than I am. In fact, you almost certainly are. I'm not. By the end of May, I will have a phenomenal read on about 9 to 10 teams in the country. They're all SEC teams.
And everyone else.
And I have no idea like what's in the ACC really, Big 12, Big 10. I'll just be able to tell you which SEC teams I'm like, yeah, I think they're real, or they're kind of flawed, or like, look, Tennessee's real. I think Texas is pretty real.
I do too.
I kind of thought Arkansas was flawed until this last weekend, and now I'm watched them some, and I was like, I don't know, maybe
They're good.
They do, and they're getting people back, and they don't suck at anything.
No, it's a typical Van Horn team. Like
they're really solid. And maybe have a better bullpen than they typically have. I think Georgia's good. I think for when I've watched them, I've thought they were really good. And then what you just said kind of confirms what I've thought about Ole Miss, which is really good starter. Have everything else is kind of feels like the rest of their pitching when I watch it just feels like playing with fire a lot. And then offensively, I've just been impressed with Ole Miss, but I did not realize the strikeouts were as high as they were. That's alarming. You do have to make more contact than that.
I mean, Hunter Elliott's been fine. 4.7 ERA. He's gotten hurt by his defense some. 15 innings pitched, so he's getting over that 5 inning mark, which is what is critical, especially on a Friday night. Look, nobody's throwing 7 innings on average. They're just not. It's not where we are in baseball anymore. It's over. Skeens barely did that. But then, and Nichols has been okay. 5.5 ERA, 1.2 WHIP, 13-4 strikeout to walk, 259 BA, 13 innings and 3 starts. It's been okay. Riley's just got to be better, or they got to do something. It's killing them from a bullpen standpoint right now. And Riley Maddox's 3 Saturday starts, 7.2 innings total, 16.4 ERA, 292 WHIP, 5 Ks, 8 walks, 417 batting average against. It doesn't take a baseball genius there to know that's just not sustainable. And he's a sinker ball pitcher, which is going to put emphasis on the defense, which is not good for anybody right now. And I mean that across the league. So, Grind, thanks for super chat as always. Appreciate you, bud, every single day. Says 1 to 10, how surprised are y'all that the NCAA blocks CU and the Qs from playing in a spring game? Why do they let an entity that doesn't give them money or decide their championship make the rules and decide who's eligible and who plays for it? It's a good question.
More than fair. I must, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being how surprised I am. It's where, frankly, I don't think Dion gets enough credit. Because there's so many people in the media that have decided that they're going to hate on him no matter what. He's exactly right. If you're going to get if you're going to do a spring thing and get something out of it, play another team. Play another team. They do it in college basketball. I mean, Ole Miss played Houston in Baton Rouge, I think at Dillard University, on a Saturday morning. And they played a game, and then they did some stuff that Houston wanted to work on, and they did some stuff that Ole Miss wanted to work on, and I think they got a lot out of it. And then Ole Miss played Illinois in Oxford, and they started the clock and did 2 20-minute halves. And I think both programs got a lot out of it. And fans got to watch, and they contributed the money to charity. Everybody won. Yeah. Literally everybody won. I don't know why you can't do that in football. That'd make it more interesting. Be fun for the Colorado fans to go see a spring game against Syracuse.
Oh, it's an answer. It is. I mean, look, there's pro and cons, but there is an answer. That's an answer that I like. I have no problem with that. No, giving the NCAA any teeth to make a decision, especially when they don't run your championship, is idiotic. They don't make any rules that fit your sport anymore, at all.
No, none. No, and like the coach at Syracuse, and I can't think of his name right now, but for him to say, we'll do it, I was like, awesome, cool. I mean, so you get to practice a road trip, which is a real thing. Yeah, you're going to keep score, but nobody's going to care. Nobody's ever going to go back and go, you know what, you lost the spring game, you're fired. I don't think. And you're going to do some things where you're going to say, hey, you can script some stuff where you're like, hey, in the third quarter or whatever, let's play backups.
Yeah.
Let's play our depth against your depth. You need to look at your depth. I need to look at my depth. Let's play it. And frankly, for both Colorado and Syracuse, it's putting yourself at risk because everybody else is going to watch that game and go, hey, that number 27 for Syracuse, what's he making?
Yeah.
Someone call his high school coach and let him know that we've got $250,000 here.
Because the portal opens now. So, yeah.
Yeah. When does the portal open? It's like in 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think. It's right after the games. So, our lack of games. So, all right, football today, Lane Kiffin players, all that good stuff. Baseball, 4 o'clock, Jackson State, and the basketball portal up and running again. We fully expect Pop Isaacs to commit to Ole Miss, judging off the Walker Jones tweet and other things we have heard. We'll have that coverage, and yeah.
If you subscribe to rebelgrove.com, I'm going to be out of pocket with my computer for several hours today, so I'm sure that the world will all happen at mid-afternoon. I will get to it. I will make it happen, but it might not be timely today. I've got stuff going on.
Okay. So we'll have that. rebelgrove.com, if you did digital, again with you in the morning and later today. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.